The qualification race would be all action. It began with Corvette on pole position.
Congratulations, Javier. You got pole at your home race.
Yeah, great. I mean, we've been waiting for a long time. The performance was there, the result wasn't there yet, but now it finally all came together here.
The pole-sitting Corvette was started by Jos Menton, and he had to battle down to the first corner with the fast-starting Lamborghini alongside in the hands of Frank Kekler. The two of them turned their way side by side around La Source hairpin, but there was drama at the back of the field as the championship leader, Michael Bartels, hit the Nissan of Jamie Campbell-Walter, which in turn hit the Corvette of Petty Kuzmanem. As the leaders swooped through Eau Rouge for the first time, the Corvette growled its way uphill and just started to edge away from the opposition. Bartels, though, was an early retirement into the pit lane. Bad news for the championship leader. Bartels and Bertolini will have to start the championship race from the back of the grid, so Vitaphone Racing Team hopes then fell to Enrique Bernoldi and Miguel Ramos. Bernoldi was desperate for a good result after early season disappointment, and he was charging on in pursuit of the Lamborghini. Mark Henrici, paired with Mike Hazemans, had a grandstand seat of the drama ahead as Stefan Mucker made a move on the Lamborghini of Dominic Schwager. The Aston Martin went through, the Lamborghini fell back 2 places. When the pit stop window opened, it was all eyes on the pit lane as the drama unfolded. Kekler gave the Lamborghini over to Ricardo Zonta, while Jos Menton gave way to Xavier Marson in the Corvette. The cars rejoined the race in the same position. The Mad Crop Racing Team still ahead of the Lamborghini. It's going to be a showdown between the two to the end of the race, with Xavier Marson under huge pressure from Ricardo Zonta. The Sumo Power GT Nissan GTR of Michael Krum and Peter Dumbrett was working its way up the order as well. The Nissans had been strong early on in the free practice sessions here, but then struggled in qualifying. The drivers had work to do, and steadily Car 23 was working its way up the order. The gap between the two leaders started to come down as Zonta closed a little bit on Marson, but still the Corvette held sway over the Lamborghini. It was a tense last few laps as lower down the order the battle raged on for 11th place. Thomas Enger diving up the inside of the Maserati of Miguel Ramos, and the Aston Martin moved ahead of the Maserati. The 22 Nissan was trying to recover after its earlier delays as well. Jamie Campbell-Walter had given way to Warren Hughes, and despite a puncture on the first lap, the car now was going well. 20th by the end of the hour of the race, however, was poor reward for the British drivers. And it wasn't helped by this drama late in the race as Warren Hughes ran out of road at Les Combes. At the checkered flag, though, it would be a win for Mad Crop Racing. It's first in the FIA GT1 World Championship. As Xavier Marson and Jos Menton came across the line just 1.8 seconds ahead of the Lamborghini of Ricardo Zonta and Frank Kekler. As Xavier Marson celebrated a win, the Lamborghini team was happy with its best finish of the season so far. Third across the line was the Corvette of Mike Hazemans and Mark Henrici, with Aston Martin 4th, Maserati 5th, and Lamborghini rounding out the top 6. The best of the Fords was 7th, the Matec competition car of Richard Westbrook and Thomas Much. The best Nissan coming home in 9th place, that in the hands of Michael Krum and Peter Dumbrett.
Hayley Coxon is in the pit lane, David Addison and Johnny Herbert here at Spa looking over the grid at the moment, which is formed and ready for 60 minutes of racing. And it's a fascinating grid because we've got some of the leading drivers in the championship at the back of the grid after problems yesterday. And another talking point this morning, Johnny, has been the fact that Mike Hazemans and Mark Henrici, who finished 3rd yesterday, were then excluded because they didn't have enough fuel in the car. They were 2 kilos light on fuel and therefore they couldn't have the requisite amount for fuel sampling. That car excluded and put to the back of the grid. So we've got so many fast cars which all have got to storm their way through the pack. Now, yesterday we had surprises with people having problems. We had surprises with a first-time win for Mad Crop Racing, Xavier Marson and Jos Menton being victorious. But this circuit seems to lend itself to the Chevrolet Corvettes. And Spa, as we've been saying over the weekend, Johnny, is a tremendous venue. You've got the tight La Source hairpin, but the rest of it is fast, it's flowing, but it's pretty daunting for the drivers.
Yeah, well, I think the Corvette over the years has been developed so well. It's always been a tough car with reliability terms, but also with the speed. But we've go to the other side of the grid where you've got the Maserati. Same thing here in Spa, has won before many times. Is a seasoned, developed car nowadays, but it's at the other end of the grid. So it's going to be interesting how all these things come into play today.
Ricardo Zonta is the man that will be on the outside of the front row. He's with Hayley.
Ricardo, So, Spa certainly seems to be the track for the Lamborghini.
I hope so. We see it now on the championship and race. Yesterday was very nice. We finished second. Now we start second. We see if we can finish on the podium. It'll be very nice for Lambo.
Thank you.
Let's look at the grid then, as the Corvette shares row 1 with Lamborghini. The second row of the grid is where you find Aston Martin and Maserati, with Christopher Nygaard starting in the Aston there. The third row of the grid, Lamborghini and Ford. Nicky Pastorelli alongside Richard Westbrook. And then behind Peter Cox, Lamborghini lines up alongside the Nissan of Michael Krum. To round out the top 10 is the Mark VDS Racing Team Ford of Maxime Martin alongside Thomas Enger's Aston Martin. Then you have Enrique Bernoldi's Maserati alongside 52-year-old Alfred Hager in the satellite team car. Aston Martin 13th on the grid, Jonathan Hershey starting. Marcus Paltler is alongside in the Ford GT. Then you have Mark Basseng's Lamborghini, which he shares with Christoph Bouchard, and Carl Wendlinger for Swiss Racing Team in the Nissan. Saeed Giara, a winner here in the 1,000 kilometres in the past, is next with the Nissan. Oliver Gavin's Mad Crop Racing Corvette is next. Then it's Nissan, Warren Hughes, and Ford, Romain Grosjean, who crashed at the end of yesterday's race. 21st on the grid, Fred Makovicki's Aston, and Andrea Bertolini starts from 22nd on the grid, ahead of the Corvette that is in the hands in the first stint of Andrea Piccini. So the cars start to get themselves into formation.
Getting slower and slower.
Yeah, exactly.
But they try. I think what they try and do is try and pack them together. But as I said, it makes it harder for the drivers because there's no temperature at all.
And of course we know what happens sometimes at the start. Just ask Peter Cox what happened at Paul Ricard when he felt he was a bit hard done by being given a penalty for a jump start. So round 5 of the FIA GT1 World Championship about to get underway. Out of the bus stop they come. The lights will go green. The 5th round of the championship is go then as they accelerate away. Who makes a good start? It's going to be the Lamborghini of Ricardo Zonta that makes a demon getaway from the outside of the front rows. They dive up towards La Source for the first time. Tyre smoke in the background. They all funnel through the hairpin 4 wide there. Fantastic.
Rubbing mirror to mirror they were there.
Downhill for the first time, then riding with the Corvette from the back of the grid, way out wide. There goes one of the Maseratis, but as they head downhill,
still 3 abreast. Look at that, and this is going into a ruse, very quick corner. Oh, that was wonderful driving there. That Lamborghini being able to get in front, got himself up a couple of positions.
So you're on board with Maxime Martin, number 40 in the Ford GT, making their way uphill. So it's a Lamborghini 1-2. Look at this, Peter Cox really making progress up onto the tail of Ricardo Zonta. But there in the 11 Corvette, Xavier Marson trying to go around the outside for second place. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Fantastic.
Yeah, needed to do that, needed to get there early because obviously he doesn't want to lose contact with that lead Lamborghini. So great move there.
So the Corvette sandwich between the 2 Lamborghinis. There's the next Lambo in 4th place as well. Nicky Pastorelli has made a good start. The field filed through for the first time, and if anything, it rather looks as though Andrea Bertolini has lost places, and the 2 Phoenix Racing Car Sport Corvettes not making the progress they need to.
No, and also the Sumo Nissan, that seems to be sort of down the back as well. So not a great start for those guys at the back, and it's important for them because they're, especially Bertolini, it's very much championship points that he needs to get.
They won 2 qualification races and 1 championship race, Vitaphone Racing Team, for Bertolini and Bartels. And you can't even say, yeah, but they've got an hour of racing which to do this, because it's an hour sprint. You've got to get on with it straight away.
Yeah, it has. And it sounds great that he's actually won those sort of those races, but those races are where you don't get many points. It's the second race and this race today where you get many more points, and that's where they haven't quite been able to successfully get that consistently. Did it in Paul Ricard, but they need to do that more often.
So the Lamborghini Murcielago leads the way. The 6.5 litre car leads the pack at the moment. Ricardo Zonta for Reiter Engineering leading in second place. There, look, is the battle between Xavier Marson's Mad Crop Racing Corvette, and right with him now is the Peter Cox-driven Lamborghini. Now, what progress can he make as they make the run up now towards the bus stop for the first time? Leaders all start to bunch up again, and don't rule out that Corvette. Marson a bit busy at the moment trying to defend, but he also wants to attack.
Yeah, all being very cautious, and I think it's a little bit because of these cars need to get that tyre temperature I was talking about earlier on. So there was actually nobody even attempted to overtake. So I think they're all taking it easy. Once they get those temperatures in that tyre, then they can start to push, then they can start to try and overtake.
Number 2 there, Enrique Bernoldi turns out of La Source hairpin, plunges downhill, trying to keep the Aston Martin at bay because Jonathan Hershey is behind him, and then Thomas Enger running in 11th place. Now, the gap at the end of the opening lap was a second between Zonta and Marson, but it's a great first lap there by Peter Cox from the 4th row of the grid to get himself up in the mix. That was pretty brave stuff by Peter.
Pretty much so, and I think he just put himself in a great position actually at the start itself, and from that point he was able to capitalise on that. When we got a car, there's been a bit of obviously contact. There's a car just pulling in the pits. It's the Nissan, I think it's the Swiss Nissan, I think.
as on track there. Look, we've got another shuffle because on the inside through goes Bert Langin to secure the place ahead of Christopher Nygaard. So Maserati stays ahead of Aston Martin. And that is Oliver Gavin, who has had a spin. You don't see that very often. Was he helped into it potentially? He rejoins, but that's going to put him at the back of the field. So having said it was a car to watch, we're watching it for the wrong reason. He's had a spin. The sister car up front, though, is getting closer all the time. And
I think it may have been just a spin. I'm not quite sure. May have been.
Well, he doesn't do that very often, does he, Ollie Gavin? That drops him right down to the back of the field. The three leaders, though, now covered by just 7/10 of a second. Let's have another look at this.
Yeah, I can't really see.
Gets spat out of the pack.
It gets very close to there's a silver GT40 there. It gets very close to that. Maybe there was just a tiny bit of contact there.
Could be. Now this is for the lead. Look how close the three leading cars are. Zonta has been caught by Marston, who's taking Peter Cox with him. Peter lapping quicker than anybody else out there at the moment. Down towards Bruxelles they come then through the right-hander. Lamborghini, Corvette, Lamborghini. Fantastic battle going on as Xavier Marston is trying to attack for the lead and defend for second place.
Yeah, and this is where it's interesting because it looks as if Zonta on the first lap or two actually was able to sort of pull that little gap out.
Let's hear from one of the local heroes, Bas Linders, with Haley.
Bas, it's not quite the start that you were hoping for.
No, not really. Maxime had a good start, but then he tried to pass Westbrook for 7th place, and he closed the door a little bit. We didn't actually see the spin, but he spun and rejoined, but now we are 22nd, so now we have to push like hell to try and come back.
Thank you, Bas.
Very frustrated, Bas Linders, then the car after that spin way down the order, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
See
down the inside, got a bit squeezed, bit of contact, and around she goes.
Richard Westbrook, of course, new to the championship, new to the Ford GT. But this is the lead battle. Lamborghini, Corvette, Lamborghini. And don't forget, we've not yet had a win this year for Lamborghini. So is this the day? Looks pretty good at the moment. Ricardo Zonta, we know, is fast. And Frank Heckler, who will take the car over, has proved to be a bit of a revelation in the championship this year, moving up from the German GT3 championship. Xavier Marston still second, and then Peter Cox there in third. And oh dear, it gets worse this weekend for Corvette. Andrea Piccini parked by the side of the road. The car retired early yesterday with a puncture. And Andrea Piccini from the back row of the grid, I'm afraid, on lap 4 is a retirement at Eau Rouge. Xavier Marston, really impressive out of Blanchimont because he gets the car right onto the tail of Zonta's Lamborghini under braking. So the Corvette taking the battle now to the Lamborghini as they come out of the bus stop, up through the gears, over the start and finish line. The 7-litre Corvette rumbles its way past.
Peter Cox doing the fastest lap still, so pace-wise, you know, Peter's very, very good. He's in a position, there's no big rush, another spin in the background.
It's another Ford, isn't it? I think that's the other VDS racing car. It is, I'm afraid. Marcus Palteler at the wheel of it.
So he's going to get himself, let's have a look. Oh, contact there from the Aston Martin, gives him a nudge at the back, round he goes. And a shame, because obviously he's got to try and repass all those cars. It's going to make it very hard for him. But as we go down to the Kemmel straight, up towards Lacombe, you know, he's got to try and slipstream this Lamborghini and give himself a chance to pull out. He's not quite close enough. You've really got to get through Eau Rouge perfectly, and if you get that perfectness, like we have here, the Maserati being able to try and pass on the outside because he went through Eau Rouge that little bit better, but you've just got to get on the inside, not the outside.
That's the battle for 6th place you're looking at. Richard Westbrook's Ford ahead of Enrique Bernoldi in the Maserati. Of course, Richard new to the car. He's no stranger to Spa, but he's still adapting to this car as the lead battle at the start of the lap was just half a second between the two of them. And Peter Cox keeping in touch, even if he's not trying to find a way past the Corvette, just waiting to see what develops ahead. There in 4th place, Nicky Pastorelli's Lamborghini, and then Bert Langin is still 5th, but that great battle for 6th position, Westbrook versus Bernoldi. Ford ahead of Maserati, downhill they come, and of course they're pretty close also to the back there, look, of the Maserati MC12 of Bert Langin. He drives for the Triple H Team Hager Sports squad. So you've got Maserati, Ford, Maserati, with the Vitaphone Racing Team car of Enrique Bernoldi desperate to try to make places here. Miguel Ramos will take that car over. Richard Westbrook, who's driving the Ford, sharing with Thomas Much. The three leaders head towards us as they come out of the piff-paff down towards the Paul Frere corner. But this, look here, is this fight between the Maserati of Bert Langin and Richard Westbrook, a bit like Xavier Marston, trying to attack, trying to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's, you know, we're getting into the time now where you've got to start making your move. You've got to be in the groove now, and this is where, for Richard, he's going to be trying to sort of extend his or get his speed there, so he gets himself in a better position for when we get the pit open and the changeover of drivers.
which is between the 25th and 35th minutes of the race, as you look at Nicky Pastorelli, who has been a winner in a couple of races of the Maserati Trofeo, the One Make Championship this year. He's in 4th place at the moment, sharing the car with Dominic Schwager. The 3 leaders go through just over a second, covering the 3 leading cars there. I'm surprised now that Xavier Marcin isn't making more of an effort to find a way through. He's sitting there, he's shadowing, but he's not darting around and looking for that gap.
Yeah, well, he seems to be, he's not quick in the right places, and where the Lamborghini seems to be able to, you can see, it extends his lead out of La Source. It seems to go through a Rouge without a problem, and then Xavier seems to close the gap very slightly as you go towards Lecombe, but you need to be able to pass him as you go into Lecombe, not sort of closing the gap. So he just needs to probably think a little bit more. And he has done it. There you go. Maybe there was a mistake from the Lamborghini there, but that's where pressure is something that you've got to be able to cope with.
And Zonta is fighting back, looks to a new leader, Xavier Marcin, having suggested he wasn't trying hard enough. He now has got through. Ricardo Zonta desperately wants the lead back again, but can Mad Croc Racing do the double this weekend? This is how he did it, Johnny.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think he's obviously got out of a Rouge. I said it's very important to do that. To go around the outside, that just shows that you had that extra little bit of speed to be able to do that. Very, very close as he tried to close the door. But I think what we're going to see now is Xavier is going to pull away, because I think he was definitely being held up.
Now, can Peter Cox find a way past Zonta as well? Peter,
he needs to.
Yeah, I was just getting the feeling that Peter was sitting there waiting to see what was developing. Now he knows the Corvette's ahead and it's going. He needs to follow it.
Absolutely. Well, I think you can see he's already sort of closed up very close to his rear end. So now he needs to get in the right position. It's really, that was a piff and paff, as they call it now, which has changed over the years. And then Stavlot, or it used to be Stavlot, now it's the Paul Frere corner, which is just coming up now. This is what they're going through now. And then what Peter needs to do is be able to get close enough to get a run, especially as they did on the exit. Wonderful. He came out of there absolutely flying and able to pass like that. Wonderful move by Peter. Needed to do it. Did it earlier than what I thought he could have done. Now he can go after Xavier.
So from 1st to 3rd in less than a lap, Ricardo Zonta's Lamborghini, and Peter Cox up into 2nd position. He was 2nd in that qualification race at Paul Ricard, got the penalty in the championship race for jumping the start, so Peter has a point to prove here, and he comes through the bus stop. That's Zonta in 3rd position. He's going to be a very frustrated Brazilian as well, because he's being caught also by Nicky Pastorelli. So has Zonta got a problem? Not only is he losing places, he's losing time as well. Well,
as we said earlier on, we noticed that he extended his lead Zonta in the first couple of laps by a second, and lost all of that in effectively 1 lap, and we can just see that he's dropping back, he's into the clutches again, as we see how Peter came out, he went right on the exit, and he got the real drive coming out of there. That was a great bit of driving there from Peter, and to give himself an hour shot of following Xavier. So now those two, I think, are going to slightly pull away and have a race between themselves, and I think it's just going to be a cat and mouse game now.
Battles rage on low down the field. Mark Basseng there, just ahead of Andrea Bertolini in the Vitafone Racing Team Maserati. You've got Oliver Gavin also looking for a way through, and number 13 Mike Hezemans in the Corvette, 3rd on the road in the qualification race before the exclusion yesterday. And these are the drivers, of course, from the back of the grid, trying to make progress and still struggling. Part of it is the traffic, part of it is the extra weight the cars have to carry. And look at the way the Maserati runs away from the Corvette in a straight line, and another place lost. That's Oliver Gavin round the outside, ballast free, runs out of road.
Let's see. No, he still kept it. Yes, exactly. Well, see, I don't know how he got actually round the outside there. It seemed to be Hazeman seemed to really get out of shape, I think, coming out of the last corner. But through a Rouge, wonderful corner, and the Mad Croc is...
That's the leader. That's Xavier Marcin, who's thrown away the race lead. He's run out of road at Lecombe, and so Peter Cox now is our 3rd different leader.
I think he's actually got a problem. I think he's back right. He's got a puncture.
You can see it, the right rear, so this is going to be a slow lap round to the pit lane for Xavier Marcin, and now it does look even better for Lamborghini to score a 1st win in the championship.
And it's a shame because it's such a long lap here, and we're going down towards Pouhon, so he's got a long way to go yet to be able to get that car back, and he's going to lose such an amount of time. Big shame.
Now, what's the situation between Cox and Zonta? Within the first sector this time, Riccardo Zonta just fractionally faster, but Peter Cox leading by 2 seconds at the moment. Nicky Pastorelli there, the Dutch driver, in third place, becoming the man to watch to see whether his Lamborghini, run by a different team, can get onto the tail of the 2 Reiter cars ahead. Well, he's almost there, isn't he? He's almost within striking distance of Zonta now.
Well, he's quicker, but obviously he's got to be quick in the right places, like I said before, to be able to get himself a slingshot to be able to pass. And I think it's done a lot of damage. The whole rear has been wide. What happens when these tyres blow? They sort of start to delaminate, come apart, and then they actually start flapping around. And as you can see, it's given the rear bodywork quite a big sort of battering and damaged it quite a lot. So now they're going to try and patch that up if they can.
And Xavier Marston, I'm afraid, after his puncture out of the car, he's in the pits with Haley.
Xavier, unfortunately, the second race is over for you.
Yeah, it was going fine until the car and the tyre blew up. I don't know what happened, but it blew up in Eau Rouge and that's it.
Thank you.
A tyre blowing at Eau Rouge is a pretty scary moment.
It's not the best place for it to happen, that's for sure. So I think he's lucky that he got through there. I think this is just him coming back as the tyre completely comes off of the car, and then he just ends up being on the rim after that. So there's probably a lot of suspension damage as well, I think.
So the car out of the race. Yeah, absolutely, because it's been a good drive early on and a good weekend for Mad Croc Racing.
Very good weekend.
So we lose one of the front runners as we have not only a Lamborghini 1, 2, 3, but the battle that's fourth is closing on third. Now remember, Pastorelli lost time at the bus stop, but that's all bunching up now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see in the last lap they've actually gained quite a lot on that third place Lamborghini, so now they've got a chance of going. We can just see, even on that last shot we saw, the first 3 are starting to stretch out a little bit as the 22. So I think that's who's in that, Campbell Walter, is it?
Warren Hughes at the moment.
Warren Hughes, is it? Yeah. So not going to be able to get that time back, really, unfortunately. So he's going to be there for a little while as he waits for the cars, spins round, burns the tyres.
As if there wasn't enough smoke already.
No, exactly. So he's lost a hell of a lot of places with that. So his race is going to become more difficult than it already was.
Yeah, winner a week ago in a club endurance race at Alton Park, Warren Hughes, but not having a happy weekend here because that car was delayed badly yesterday with a puncture after the first corner accident. Peter Cox then leads the way and he's pretty much out on his own at the moment. Riccardo Zonta, despite leading on the opening lap, not being able to sustain this pace. He's losing a few tenths each lap though, but it all mounts up. Christopher Nygaard looking for a way past Bert Langevin to no avail, and Michael Krum is there behind them. This is 6th, 7th and 8th. Down the hill towards Eau Rouge they come. So Maserati ahead of Nissan, ahead of Aston Martin. Again, the variety is evinced here, and it's the Aston Martin looking very toey at the moment, getting onto the back of the Maserati. Now, is there going to be a chance here, perhaps, for Christopher Nygaard to make a move?
No, I think so. He made the first part very well. If you get hooked up to that curb, you get a nice slingshot up the hill, and that's exactly what he's got. On the outside, but hopefully he's going to have enough speed. And that Maserati, normally very good under braking, no, gives way, and he's through.
And it also suggests that Michael Krum will be able to find a way through as well. But Nygaard makes a mistake, doesn't he? Kicks up the dirt, ran out of road and was lucky just to hang on to the place there. But he's on the back foot. He's compromised.
There's Michael, yeah.
They've all bunched up behind him. Krum attacking Langevin. And because Langevin has to defend, that really is the best news for Nygaard because that takes a bit of the pressure off him.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he tried to go around the outside. It's a bit of an impossibility to do that. But he just got to pressurise him there. Michael's a very shrewd driver. Very good driver. We don't see much of him over here so much in Europe for the last couple of years, racing in Japan. Lovely drive down to Puo, or as they like to call it now, the double Gush, which is, I said that right, I think, didn't I? It's a double left-hander, and he made that pass very well. Important for him to do it, because obviously that Maserati's not quite on the pace, and now he's got a chance of sticking on the gearbox of the Aston Martin in front.
And once again, it's Sumo Power GT being the better of the two Nissan teams. Swiss Racing Team once more struggling. Saigiara has had a spin early on. Carl Wendlinger is down in 13th place. Now Michael Krum then trying to catch onto the tail of the Aston Martin ahead of him, Christopher Nygaard. Last year, Michael Krum drove one of these Nissans within the 24-hour race, so they've got loads of data to rely on for Spa. Grabs a gear heading up towards Blanchimont, and the man ahead of him is Christopher Nygaard, who shares with Stefan Mucker. Of course, Michael Krum will hand over to Peter Dumbrecht for the second stint.
Yeah, got a little lift there, and that's just to sort of balance the car. Obviously, you can't do it flat out, you'll be straight off the track. But when Michael's very good, he's under braking. You can see where he can just close that gap, use those curbs. He's probably down in first gear, as a guess, and then he's going to accelerate. Oh, they're into the pits. So here we are, the pits are open, I guess.
Indeed so, pit window is open. They were battling on the track. There's Ricardo Zonta from second place into the pit lane. And also, I'm afraid, the Maxime Martin Bass Linder's Ford GT has stopped out on the circuit. So the miserable weekend for the Belgians, I'm afraid, has come to a premature end there. The Aston stops, Nygaard to give way to Stefan Mucker. Down the pit lane comes Michael Krum. Peter Dumbrecht will be the man to get behind the wheel of the car this time. And Bert Longin's Maserati is in as well.
So they're going to be done as slick as they possibly can. Not to lose too much time.
Change drivers, change tyres, 2 mechanics to do the work. Zonta rejoins, or the car rejoins, Frank Keckler now having taken it over. This, of course, is where the order can shuffle if you lose time in the pits.
Oh, no, I think the wheels come off. The nuts come off the rear. It popped off. He put it in gear and it popped off. Big error. Well, that's the guy. He's putting the wheel nuts on, but obviously he hadn't put the damn thing on at all. So they've lost a monumental amount of time now.
And Stefan Mucker's car, as you say, losing lots and lots of time, spins the wheels in frustration there. Dear, oh dear, that was a dreadful pit stop, wasn't it? And there's a rather embarrassed mechanic there saying, "Oh, I don't know what happened. Not me." Don't believe you. Yes. So you've got Peter Cox then leading the way, staying out. Now he's quicker than Christopher Haase, isn't he? So Peter Cox will do a longer stint compared to other drivers.
Yep, sure, exactly. And again, that's just where Peter, with his wealth of experience, can just be consistent and just carry on doing the job that he's doing at the moment. But
second, third and fourth, Lamborghini, Ford, Maserati now. In other words, Nicky Pastorelli just ahead of Richard Westbrook, who, as you might expect, is going tremendously well in the Ford, and then Bernoldi's Maserati.
Yeah, well, what they need to do, the Ford GT and the Maserati, in some regards, should be coming in as soon as they possibly could. They probably should have come in the lap before, because they're being held up. Now, if you're being held up, you want to get out of that traffic and get yourself in the pits, do your change, get out, because if they all come in together, for example, now, you've lost all the advantage you could have got. So maybe it was a bit of an error for those two. We'll see what happens if they come in the pits this time.
Look at second place, though. Richard Westbrook's Ford under huge pressure now from Enrique Bernoldi and the Maserati. Which way does he go? To the outside goes the Brazilian, the ex-Formula 1 racer. Nicky Pastorelli leads the way. Bernoldi on the outside. Richard Westbrook eventually has to give way. Bernoldi goes second for Maserati.
Good move for him. I think that was an important one where I say we've got the pit window open now, and if you can get in front, the car's in front, of course that gives you a clean track when you change over to your driver. But as I said, in some regard they should have pitted earlier than they have done.
So we've had 4 different leaders. Can we make it 5 with Enrique Bernoldi going ahead? Bernoldi will give way to Miguel Ramos, the Portuguese racer, who is not really as quick as Enrique Bernoldi. So Enrique needs to do the lion's share of the work in this stint. Richard Westbrook is quicker than Thomas Much as well. So that's another reason perhaps why they're keeping him in the car for a little bit longer. As up front then, the leaders are at Pouin. This rejoining the race.
It's going slow. We've got that Lamborghini going slow there. I don't know, 24, yeah.
That's Christopher Haase, who's just into his stint, isn't he? Maybe there's a problem. Maybe he's just playing himself in.
He's playing himself in a bit slowly. That's the case. No, he's going very slow. Very, very slow. So maybe there's an issue there somewhere.
There's the sister car behind of Frank Heckler.
We've got yellow flags at turn 3.
There is a problem between, of course, in as much as the gap has come down. Now, these are the best 2 of those that have made a pit stop. So, in real terms, this is the lead battle. What we need to see after the next tranche of cars have pitted is where they feed back in. On track, you've got a battle for the lead, but these are the top 2 stoppers. Now, remember that Frank Heckler is longer into his stint than Christopher Haase. If he is still playing himself in, though, he's got to get up to the required speed pretty soon. Otherwise, he's going to lose the lead altogether here. Heckler making a look to the inside at Pouin. Is he going to be able to go through their teammates? So they don't want to lean on one another, but Frank Heckler certainly now is giving Christopher Haase a very hard time. And remember the big lead that Peter Cox had built up. It's about to disappear altogether.
Exactly, and we got those 3rd, 4th and 5th still battling, still on track, still following each other, still losing time.
And this is a replay of Frank Keckler locking up at the bus stop and just missing Christopher Haase ahead of him.
Bit of a flat spot maybe appearing on those tyres, I think.
Absolutely right. As into the pit lane now is the Neil Jani Romain Grosjean Ford, which means that Romain will hand over to Neil Jani.
And as these 3 still do battle, I keep repeating myself, I just can't believe that they're still out there. Following each other, falling over each other, slowing each other up.
You should be a team manager.
That's a good old point. I'm off.
So
later.
Yeah, exactly. Lamborghini, Ford and Maserati, who are so busy listening to their respective teams, they're not listening to Jay Herbert about when they should pit, but if you talk louder, they might listen.
Maybe.
But they're going to run out of time sooner or later because there's probably only one more lap within the pit window at the end of this, so they really are coming to crunch point.
Yeah, and what's going to happen? All going to come in together.
And they trip over themselves. Yeah,
exactly.
Quite. You've been saying it all along. So you're about to see the evidence of this. Nicky Pastorelli, to be fair, doing a good job of hanging on to the place. He's got very quick drivers behind him. Richard Westbrook's having to defend again from Bernoldi as they come up towards the bus stop. The Maserati tries the outside. Richard Westbrook stands his ground. Is Pastorelli slowing to come into the pits? Yes. Richard Westbrook, yes. Bernoldi, yes.
Oh, dear. Wallies.
Gold star for that man that said they'd all come in on the same lap. Well done, Johnny. So down the pit lane they come, and these three were fighting for the lead. Now the question is, where do they feed back in after the pit stop relative to the two Reiter Engineering Lamborghinis, namely those of Christopher Hasse and Frank Kekler? Also into the pits is the next Aston Martin of Fred Makovici. So Richard Westbrook stops.
Yeah, so after all that following on track, it's all going to be down to the pit stops themselves. It would have been much easier if they pitted three laps earlier and then got a clear track.
So Thomas Mutch takes over the Ford. It's going to be Dominic Schwager, who hadn't raced here since the year 2000, who will take over the Lamborghini. And the other car, Miguel Ramos there, now behind the wheel of the Maserati.
There's someone not very happy there. I don't know what happened there.
Well, they seem to have finished the work, but it wasn't moving, as though Miguel Ramos wasn't ready. And that's going to keep it behind the Ford, isn't it? So Thomas Mutch's car keeps track position, but that's a big... No, that's the other Lamborghini we're looking at. Panic. But this is a very slow stop.
Very slow. This is
trying to work out why it's taken so long to do that. The Ford and the Maserati had long since departed.
Well, I have to take everything I said back, because they obviously knew more than I would that the Lamborghini would have a problem in the pit.
So eventually they gained the places.
Yes, anyway.
However, that's Andrea Bertolini. Mikhail Bartels has taken over that car. The safety car is on standby, incidentally, so this may also have a part to play in the outcome of the race now, as 25 Frank Kekler there comes up towards Lake Colm. Now this is going to be for the race lead, look, and it is just ahead number 5. So Thomas Mutch leads the way on the pit stops. The Ford has come through, so both the Lamborghinis have been a bit slow. This stint as Kekler tries to go to the inside, rides the curb. Thomas Mutch hangs on to the lead. Kekler is in second place and Christopher Hasse is down in third. And of course, the car that's third now had a comfortable lead when Peter Cox brought it in.
Yeah, precisely. So he's lost a hell of a lot of time. I said, but we did see, I think they do have a bit of a problem, because we did see they looked a bit slow down there, the Camel Straight, and he's obviously lost out to his fellow Lamborghini, and he seems to be just dropping back. So obviously I think they seem to have a bit of a problem.
The safety car is on the track.
I think so, yeah.
This is going to bunch everybody up now.
Great.
Trying to work out why we have a safety car. It may be for the Ford at the top of Radion, the Mark VDS Racing Team car, but it's been there for a few laps. No doubt we'll find out for sure in a moment. So everybody has to back off, and Richard Westbrook, after a very, very good opening stint, a bit frustrated now because his lead's gone virtually. So just over 13 minutes of the race to go. We were suggesting this could be the race of the year. Well, everyone bunched up then for one last hurrah. Here they come out of the bus stop. Safety car peels in. The race about to get back underway. Thomas Mutch accelerates out of the bus stop, tries to pull away. Frank Kekler is second. It's Ford versus Lamborghini. Mikael Krum third in the Nissan. Miguel Ramos fourth in the Maserati, but I'm a bit fearful he may lose a place or two. Thomas Ackery and then Alex Muller behind. Aston Martin and Maserati as they go through La Source on this first lap of the restart. Downhill then goes Thomas Mutch, but Frank Kekler is staying with him. Ford versus Lamborghini for the race lead, and Thomas Mutch under huge pressure now.
Yeah, and what you've got to do now is just get us out as fast as possibly you can onto this Camel Straight. Now, because he tried to pass going into the Rouge corner, he lost his momentum. So then he hasn't got this chance, although he's still trying, but I don't think he's going to actually make it this time.
Thomas Mutch making the car very wide indeed as he comes then up now towards Lake Colm in the background. You saw Alex Muller having a go at the Aston Martin of Tom Ackery, and Mikael Krum is with them. It is 3 for the lead. Look, we've had a change for 5th place. The Aston Martin then is there, Tom Ackery, but down towards us comes Thomas Mutch just ahead at the moment. In 2nd place, Frank Kekler, and now Kekler finds himself trying to attack and trying to defend at the same time. Life becomes very difficult indeed. I reckon that Nissan's got a real chance of winning this race.
It has, and it's funny seeing it here actually. You get that very low GT40, that very low Lamborghini, and the Nissan just looks so big. It's almost like from the screen, bottom of the screen upwards, it's that much higher than the other cars. So it's amazing how well that car does. It's got a wonderful motorsport history and a great car to drive as well, and very quick here in Spa.
A nervous Richard Westbrook and nervous Hans Reiter watching their respective cars, and there's talk for the year after next of a BMW entry into the championship. At Stefan Rattel's press conference yesterday, he was talking about the success of year one of the FIA GT1 World Championship, talking about trying to move to the Chinese and North American markets for next year's calendar, and then talking about in another year's time after that more brands coming in as well. So the future looks very good indeed for the championship. The future of this race looks good as well. Ford, Lamborghini, Nissan looking at the top three at the moment. Miguel Ramos is in fourth, and actually he's doing better than I was expecting here, because the Maserati has not really fallen into the clutches of Thomas Ackery's Aston Martin yet. It may happen before the end. 11 more minutes are on the clock. Frank Kekler comes up towards the bus stop now, but Thomas Much standing his ground.
And we've got a drive-through penalty for car 8 speeding in the pit lane.
Which is Stefan Mucker at the wheel, and I suspect that was on his departure, because we saw that problem with the wheel now. He was pretty far out, wasn't he? So on his way out, he may well have been speeding them.
Yeah, because what you normally have on the steering wheel is a button which actually controls your speed. Now, obviously, if you know, sometimes there's sort of a push and a hold, or it's sort of a click on and a click off. And if you knock it, if it's a click on and a click off, and then cause your speed and lose out. So he's in 14th place, but he's obviously going to lose it a lot more time now.
Look at this for the race lead. They could barely be closer. Coming up Radion now. Thomas Much is still, but only just ahead of Frank Kekler. Michael Krohn dropping back a little bit in third place. And then look for fifth. We have them overlapping as well. Ackery and Muller, Aston Martin and Maserati. The Lamborghini, though, in second place, virtually hidden behind the Ford as they dive towards Lecombe this time. On board now with Alex Muller. Is he going to be able to gain a place, because Tom Ackery's Aston Martin is nearby, probably alongside him. He's gone through.
Yeah, he went through. He went through a ruse wonderfully well, pulled out very, very early, and that gave him a chance. Give him a big fight in that car as well. So this is where the tyre temperatures are just coming into their own, but the cars will get a little bit nervous because they're not quite giving the grip that the driver needs.
One of the beauties of this length of lap is you can see where each car is strong, can't you? And how now the Nissan has closed back up again, having set a couple of corners back that Peter Dumbrecht's car was falling away. Now it is back into contention once again for a race win here. 8.5 minutes of the race to go. They all bunch up at the bus stop. Remember, the best that Peter Dumbrecht and Michael Krohn have had this year as a finish. Second in the championship race at Paul Ricard. Third at the moment, out of the bus stop. And look at the lead battle ahead. They're going to be overlapping at La Source. Frank Kekler on the outside of the Lamborghini. Can he drive all the way around the outside of Thomas Much? No, he can't. Bit of blue smoke though as Much locks up, and now Kekler tries to storm up the inside. What a race!
Absolutely, yeah. And I apologise to Peter Dumbrecht. Kept saying it was Michael Krohn in the car, but Peter's doing a sterling job, and hopefully he can capitalise on the battle that's in front of him. And through this Rouge corner, this is where he needs to get that real drag up this Kemmel Straight.
But we've had that change for the lead, of course, and so now Frank Kekler has done it and gone through. Thomas Much down in second place, and look at the two Maseratis for fourth, because now on the tail of Miguel Ramos is Alex Muller. So he's got ahead of Ackery, his Muller, and now he wants to get past Miguel Ramos as well. He's going to do it on the inside, and all of a sudden that fourth place Maserati is another potential winning car.
Absolutely. He's been very quick. The last, 2 laps, he's passed 2 cars and seems to have a very good pace at the moment. So now he's really going to be on it and try and get past him. So there we go, into La Source. Ran a little bit wide, I think, yes, and the Lamborghini slips down the inside quite easily. Inside, but he passed him quite easily before he even got down to the bottom. So very good job there. Now he's just going to be consistent. They're very, very happy.
Up the inside comes Muller, then the Maserati terrorising the Nissan. He can't do it, has to back out of it. Second, third and fourth absolutely together, but while they're being held up by Thomas Much like this, so the leader, Frank Kekler, who was second yesterday in the qualification race, is building a good lead. 6 more minutes of the race to go, and he leads by 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, and we're finding that GT40 is struggling a little bit. I think, the first couple of laps he was okay. We're on board now with the Muller Maserati, and this is where he's been very good, down this hill through a Rouge, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see if he can get that drag up the hill, down that Kemmel Straight, and being able to pass as they go into Le Coup. And I think he might be quick enough to be able to get past that Nissan. We'll see.
So that's the race leader then, the Lamborghini of Reiter Engineering, Frank Kekler, the driver, and Muller is alongside Dumbrecht, and they both want to get past the Ford. Peter stands his ground on the inside though.
lovely, and he's got the slipstream of the GT40 as well. So, but the Nissan is still the Nissan's kept it.
Fantastic racing. Peter Dumbrecht then turns into Lecombe. He's still in third place. Where's Alex Muller? He's right on his tail. And Thomas Much, of course, gains an advantage because Peter Dumbrecht, so busy defending, loses a couple of lengths. Now possibly there's a challenge. Yes, has Much got a problem because Dumbrecht easily goes to the outside of him. He's going to swoop through on the approach to point. Yes, Peter Dumbrecht goes second. At long last, he's done it. And Much goes a bit wide. Does he going into the corner? Alex Muller has a gap on the inside. The Maserati goes through into third place.
He's got a problem there for some reason because he slowed up as they went towards Pua and then ran very wide also. So he's lost 2 places there. Well, he is dropping away actually.
Yeah.
He is slowing up. Yeah, he is slowing up.
But he's not yet lost another place, has he? He's still got Miguel Ramos behind him for the moment, but that could all change,
I think it will happen at the next breaking point, if not before. So we're coming up. This is coming up to Blanchimont. This is sort of the little left kink beforehand, and then Blanchimont itself, mighty corner. And you see, no, he still seems to be okay, and see, he's gone a bit wide again. But he's not going to be close enough. That Maserati's not going to be able to slip up the inside on that occasion.
And Miguel Ramos is one of the quick gentleman racers that's still around in top-level GT racing, so whether he's quite as gung-ho as Enrique Bernoldi, who started the car, I rather doubt. Across the line they come. The gap between the leaders, 2.6 seconds now, with 3.5 minutes to go. Is that too much for Peter Dumbrecht to make up? He locks up, going into La Source as well there. Much still hanging on to his place, ahead on Miguel Ramos. Just thinking, though, about Alex Muller's car, the Maserati MC12 is in third place. Now, yesterday in the qualification race, it started last on the grid. So that goes to show how things have worked out over the qualification race with a good result, a good drive in this race, the safety car as well. But what an effort by Alfred Hager and Alex Muller.
Absolutely. Again, they've had a little bit of luck maybe with that pace car, but it was the same for everybody. The only guy who lost out, I suppose, was the leaders, because they were the ones who did have a lead. But it's made the race better, but he's actually stepped up. His pace has been wonderful. Bit of smoke, bit of locking up. Someone's gone wide there.
That was the second place battle, wasn't it? It was either Dumbrecht or Muller. Let's see who survives. Leader goes through, Kekler. And what's happening for second place?
Yeah, it was Peter Dumbrecht.
Yeah.
He's not there at all. There was a lot of smoke, so... Yeah, oh yes.
It's a mechanical problem.
Smoke. Slight mechanical coming from the front bonnet where the engine is.
But I was thinking it was tar smoke. He'd locked up. It's a failure, isn't it? That's mechanical smoke, if you like.
I think so. Yeah. It's an oily smoke.
Yes. One without much prospect of recovery, I'm afraid. That's sad to say. So Peter Dumbrecht's excellent effort comes to an end. He was in second place, so now up into second place should go Alex Muller. Again, repeat the point, from last on the grid for the qualification race.
Fantastic.
Absolutely right. Now, what can he do, if anything, about the race leader? Third is going to be Thomas Much, fourth is Ramos, and then fifth behind is the Aston Martin of Tom Ackery. 2 more minutes to go. We predicted this was going to be a great race. It has certainly lived up to that. But I want to know what the gap is at the end of this lap between Kekler and Muller to see whether there's any chance of yet another different race leader and perhaps a new potential winner of the race as well. We've not yet had a win for Lamborghini. It looks like it's going to happen. This is the last lap. As across the line, the gap's gone up now. 3.6 seconds. I don't think Muller is going to catch, but it's been a superb effort from him and Alfred Hager, a 52-year-old, who started the car to get up into second place. Much is third. Fourth is Ramos there in the Maserati. Fifth, Tom Acker is Aston behind. And in sixth place, Darren Turner for young driver AMR. Don't discount Darren either, because with a lap to go, he might spring a surprise.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's the last lap, it's the last opportunity, and they're going to be trying as hard as they can to do it. Now we'll see if Ramos can get that drive out of Blanchimont down the Camel Straight towards Lecombe and see if he can actually get in a position to actually game that, that final podium position.
4 tenths have been taken back within the first sector by Alex Muller, so he's certainly charging on this last lap. Thomas Much hangs on to his third place, but unfortunately, of course, we've lost that Nissan, the Peter Dumbrecht Michael Krum car, out of the race. Michael is with Haley.
Michael, what's the cause for the early retirement for you?
Well, we are not sure. Maybe it's an engine-related problem, or I'm not sure exactly about the exact reason. We have to get the car back and see. It just suddenly stopped, so maybe engine or electric-related. I have no idea. But I mean, that doesn't matter what the cause is. The problem is we stopped.
Thank you.
And there's the replay. Peter parking the car. Very, very disappointing. They were on target for second place, which would have equalled the best result for the team this year. That particular combination of drivers, of course. The sister car won at Silverstone after penalties were applied to 1 or 2, but for Michael Krummen, a very frustrated Peter Dumbrack. Second at Paul Ricard, the best result they've had, and they would have equalled that but for the mechanical problems. So there is the race leader, and the gap is coming down a little bit, but Frank Keckler, I think, now has got, just half a lap or so to go, and he's driving within himself. He knows what the margin is, and he's going to be able to bring this home for another different brand to win. Lamborghini set for victory in round 5 of the championship. This really has been a fantastic race, and Frank Keckler, who starred yesterday along with Ricardo Zonta, is going to be a winner for the first time this year.
No, I think for Muller and Hager, it's been an absolutely stonking race to come from that far back, and actually they've been very, very strong. Their pace has been fantastic, and they've got themselves in that position now to take that second place, hopefully.
Indeed, 24th on the grid yesterday, 12th on the grid today, second place at the end of the race. Out of the last corner, it's a win for Lamborghini. Across the line comes Frank Keckler. He and Ricardo Zonta celebrate a win at Spa. Second, what a drive by Alex Muller and Alfred Hager, and Thomas Mutch and Richard Westbrook finished third, just ahead of Enrique Bernoldi and Miguel Ramos. Fifth for Aston Martin, Thomas Akari and Fred Makovici, and then sixth is Darren Turner and Thomas Enger. And finally, the celebrations can begin for Lamborghini, because Reiter Engineering takes a first win in the FIA GT1 World Championship, and still as they poured across the line, there were places up to change right at the very end, with so many cars running tight together. Absolutely wonderful race, that. And the winners are there in the pit lane, ready to speak to Haley. Let's hear then from Ricardo Zonta and Frank Keckler.
Congratulations, Ricardo. What a performance.
Yeah, it's very nice winning, especially GT1. So nice, the cars. The Lambo did a very good job. Frank, he is the man today. He overtook the cars, and we won.
Frank, Ricardo certainly set it up well for you, but you did definitely bring it home.
Yeah, it was a little bit more difficult than I expected, and when I suddenly saw the Ford in front of me, and there was yellow flags in the Rouge, and there was no green afterwards, so I was not sure if I can overtake or not, and then there was safety car. So I just had to overtake him afterwards. Yeah, I'm really, really happy that this happened. We worked a bit from yesterday to today, figured out in the morning what doesn't work, and did the step in the other direction, and it definitely did work.
Thank you.
It certainly did.
So Lamborghini, Maserati, and then in third it was Ford, with the car in the hands of Richard Westbrook and Thomas Mutch. Fourth place, Maserati, Enrique Bernoldi and Miguel Ramos. Then it was Aston Martin, Fred Makovici and Thomas Akari. Darren Turner and Thomas Enger in sixth, and again from near the back of the grid, another car making progress to seventh was Bertolini and Bartels, Maserati. Bert Longean and Nico Verdonk eighth, ninth Nicky Pastorelli and Dominic Schwager after being tapped into that spin, and Jonathan Hershey and Clivio Piccioni rounding out the top 10 for Aston Martin. Ricardo Zonta and Frank Keckler take a maiden victory for themselves and for Lamborghini in the FIA GT1 World Championship. They get the biggest trophies of the lot, and Frank Keckler, who's a fairly slight guy anyway, is going to have to work quite hard to hold that trophy aloft.
No, definitely so. It's great to see them up there. It's a great thing for momentum for the team to carry it through to the coming races, and it's going to be fascinating.
Well, what a race we've had. Round 5 of the FIA GT1 World Championship, won by Ricardo Zonta and Frank Keckler. Next stop, the Nürburgring. From Johnny Herbert, Haley Coxon and David Addison, goodbye.